Captain's Log, episode 54. This week's episode of the Beer Avengers podcast is sponsored by the Beer and Cheese Collective, formerly known as Astoria Beer and Cheese Ditmars, located at 35-11 Ditmars Boulevard in Astoria, Queens. Winter hours are Wednesday through Sunday, but they're making those 5 days count with events like Wednesday Night Chess Club and Thursday Night Trivia. Check out their Instagram page for more details. Enjoy the eclectic array of craft beer, artisanal cheeses, and specialty grocery items at the Beer and Cheese Collective. New name? Same great place. Also sponsored by Sweet Avenue, Sunnyside's newest bottle shop and tasting bar. Check out their amazing selection of draft beer, cans, bottles, and fresh crowlers. It's a great place to hang out or to find a cozy brew or three to take home. Conveniently located just off the 7 train at 4005 Sunnyside Boulevard. Stop by and tell them the Beer Avengers sent you. This week, Captain of the Beer Wonder welcome our newest guest Beer Avenger, Jared Leary. Jared stops by to tell us his fascinating origin story from downtown Manhattan beer bar 1 Mile House to his latest project Sweet Avenue in Sunnyside, a few things in between, and the occasional tangential detour. Remember to like, star, and subscribe whenever that feels appropriate. And send us your emails at thebeeravengers@gmail.com if you have any questions, suggestions, or if you just like hearing us talk about you on the show. And now, without further ado, please enjoy episode 54, Getting Beery with Leary at Sweet Avenue.
Well, we're the Beer Avengers, Beer Avengers, Beer Avengers.
We're the Beer Avengers.
Welcome to the Beercast, everyone. Coming to you from an undisclosed location in Astoria, Queens, I am Captain Porter Brownstone.
And coming to you from an undisclosed location in the county of Kings, it is I, the Beer Wonder.
And we are the Beer
Avengers.
That's right. We're the Beer Avengers, coming to the first time in about a month. Thanks for being patient. January was kind of slow.
January's rough, man. January is just a rough month.
It always is, but with the uptick of the world situation, with us going through the whole Greek alphabet and such, just wasn't as much. It didn't seem like much to talk about, and we didn't feel like posting a 10-minute show saying, "Hey, stayed home this week." But things are getting turned around. We're hoping on having a few more, and we want to come back into February in a big way with our very special guest Beer Avenger today. We have Jared Leary from Sweet Avenue. Welcome, Jared.
Woo-hoo.
Very happy to be here.
Very happy to have you here. When did Sweet Avenue open? It was it last summer?
It was the end of July in 2021.
Wow.
Opening a business in a pandemic. Really, really, really easy. Not challenging at all.
No kidding.
Well, yeah, you got a great story there. Look forward to hearing more about that, more about you as the show progresses. Aside from what we were just talking about, Beer Wonder, what's been going on with you?
Oh, living my best indoor life again, one day at a time, as much as we can. January is always like that kind of dark time because it's literally dark, like it gets dark early. So I'm excited to be getting into a little bit more light. But other than that, I've been doing as much of my Clark Kent jobbing as I can. And grabbing beers from all of my local places when the opportunity, and even finding some time to catch up with you, which has been a real delight.
Yes, it has. We've been a few places. We'll be talking about all of that soon and much, much more. But before we do any of that, I suppose we should get to the pours?
Always.
Absolutely. Man, I know we've been gone for a month. Who should go first, do you think, Beer Wonder?
You don't remember?
I know.
Captain, we've been doing
this. Must be
for
seasonal affective disorder or something.
We've been doing this for over a year. I figure we would have at least gotten into the groove by now. I think it would only be polite if our very special guest went first.
Absolutely, you're right. I don't know what my brain must have been clouded by it's a little chilly out there today.
I know it is.
Absolutely, Jared. What beer do you have with you today? There.
Well, I am honored to go first. So the beer that I brought today is a brewery in Sperryville, Virginia, that I was just turned on to by a regular that comes into the bottle shop. The brewery is called Pendruit, and the name of the beer is Golden Swan. It's bottle conditioned. It's made on wood fire. It's super interesting. They use their own proprietary yeast strain. It's pretty delicious.
Excellent.
Trying to get the
What is that a dragon on the bottle? What is that?
It's up for debate. I have no idea. I actually haven't talked to anyone from this brewery, so I'm not sure. People think it's Loch Ness Monster. Some people think it's a swan. Some people think it's I don't even know, a snake. It could be with a tongue, or a pelican. But
I guess it's a Rorschach style beer.
Yes, what you see in it says something about what you'll taste in the beer.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, well let's open up. Let's see what that thing looks like.
Oh, okay. So
that was a good crack there. I always enjoy it, and I'm already starting to see some of the bubbles come up out of the glass. Ooh, and a lovely texture. Can you
very foamy.
Bring it up just a little so we can take a beat? Yeah. Okay, so looks a little hazy.
Very lively.
Yeah, there's a lot happening there.
Yeah, there's some sediment, a little sediment floating around. I don't know if you can see that there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
so I'm pouring this in a customizable Sweet Avenue TQ glass, of course.
Of course.
You can see how active this beer is. Like that.
Oh yeah, it's
ridiculous.
It has absolutely come to party.
At one time when I was bartending, I would have gotten fired for that. But this beer is worth it.
That's why it's good to be the boss.
Yes,
yes.
Yeah. The luxuries of being your own boss.
So, do I want me to describe this beer? Do you want me to kind of like tell you what I'm tasting, or are we going to get into that later?
Well, I mean, you give initial thoughts if you want to. We can certainly get into a more detailed later. It's yeah.
I mean, it's definitely a farmhousey saison kind of beer, Belgian-y. It's like the smell of it's beautiful. This is like 100% kind of beers that I'm into. Light, delicate, super intense, tiny bubbles like you would get in any kind of Belgian Trappist beer or whatnot.
That sounds fantastic.
All right, well, Captain, I think, despite your misstep, it would only be polite for me to let you go next.
Oh, that's so kind of you, Beer Wonder. As you heard up at the top of the show, in addition to our usual sponsor, the Beer and Cheese Collective, this show is co-sponsored by none other than Sweet Avenue. Not coincidentally, owned by our guest Jared Leary. And as a result, he has provided the beers for both myself and Beer Wonder to have. The ones you'll be hearing us talk about, you can find in the shop at Sweet Avenue. So therefore, I am going to have a
sponsored pour.
That's right, a sponsored pour from Sweet Avenue. This is a really nice one. I've actually had this one a couple of times from Mast Landing. It's the Coffee Gunner's Daughter.
Ooh.
It's a milk stout with coffee, peanuts. I think there's a little peanut. Oh yeah, there are definitely still peanuts in this one. But the nice thing, well, we'll talk about the exact flavor later. But this is a real treat.
Oh, lovely crack on that one.
Here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Go.
Oh, that pours thinner than I honestly would have expected for a beer that is that dark. But
and this another exciting thing about this beer is, and I know we're always trying to get as many different states as we can.
Mm-hmm.
Can you believe we haven't had a beer from Maine before?
What?
This is our first ever Maine beer.
That's wild.
This is our main event to steal something from something else.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, that is definitely a good looking beer right there.
Oh, it's very tasty too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get into more specific to that, but I don't want you to go thirsty, Beer Wonder. What do you have there?
Well, to the shock of everyone, I also have a
sponsored pour.
Another sponsored pour. What a non-surprise.
I know.
Given what I just said, but yeah.
We're predictable here. Well, I'm actually really excited about this beer because it is from a brewery that I've always enjoyed, Equilibrium Brewing, which is a New York State brewery. And this is their Photon Pale Ale, clocking in at a gentle 4.8%. ABV, and they do note in deep specifics here about how they want this beer to be kept cold at all times. And so I appreciate Sweet Avenue for helping us with that process, as well as the captain handing it off to me in frigid temperatures, which allowed it to go immediately into my freezer. So I feel like we've done equilibrium right.
Well,
here.
yes, you're pretty strict about staying outside right now.
Yes.
Places. So yeah.
Yes. All right.
Ooh,
I know.
that's quite a juicy crack.
That's a live one right there. It's ready to go. All right. So let's see how my pouring skills are today. Oh dear. Very active, very lively. This one's ready to go. Kind of hazy in there.
Yes, also very heady as well.
Very aggressive head. But we'll let that one calm down a little bit and see what kind of flavors it's bringing for us. Well, gentlemen.
Oh yes. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oof, my tasty.
So, Jared, that beer you have, what was the name of that brewery that it comes from again?
So the name of the brewery is Penn Druid. It's quite, I got to get used to this reverse angle on the computer screen. So the beer is from Penn Druid from Virginia, and a regular of mine, his name is Moo, brought it in for me once, and I had never had it before. He frequently goes down to Virginia area, DC area, and found it and brought it back. We have very kind of similar palates when it comes to these Belgian pale ales / farmhouses / saisons, and I was blown away by it. And since then, he's brought me up a bunch more and had different iterations. They do a lot of spontaneous fermentation. Like I said before, they do a lot of like wood fire heating for their beers. They do a lot of stuff outside, very small batch stuff. They have some sours that have plums in them, some sours that have raspberries and cherries. But everything I've had so far has been absolutely outstanding, including this one.
I think I might have to take a road trip.
Yeah, I was going to say that sounds
I feel
great.
like I say that every week, but
well, the good thing is I do have a few at the shop, and there have been many occasions where we will open up some bottles and do a little bit of a bottle share. And
that's one of my many favorite things about Sweet Avenue is when that happens.
Yeah, me too. And this was literally a result of one of them. So I'm super into this brewery. I can't talk about them enough. That's why I wanted to bring them onto the show so I can spread the word to you guys as well. This beer is so delicious.
Excellent.
You've absolutely sold me for sure.
Yeah.
So Beer Wonder, has your head subsided at all on that equilibrium yet?
A little bit. We're getting there.
Okay.
It's a process. It's a bit of a journey, but this one is a pretty wonderful beer. It is kind of more of a pale ale than doesn't hit the IPA notes. More like an APA for me, which I love. It's got. I feel like this one's more like Pacific Northwest kind of situation. I mean, it's pretty hazy. And I get some of the fruity, mango-y kind of stuff that happens. But there's a decent amount of hop resin and a pretty intense bitterness to it. So I'm digging this. Honestly, I would, and coming in at, under 5%, I feel like there could be a number of these in my future. Kind of experience. I'm curious what kind of relationship you guys at Sweet Avenue have with Equilibrium, or if there's a reason that you specifically passed this one over to us.
I think it was the time of day we were drinking. So I think, under 6% seems to be the good benchmark of that, even though I'm breaking that wrong with a 6.7. But it's I've always liked Equilibrium since they come out. I think they make really cool beers. I think this is like a beer for them that is not super hazy and super juicy. It kind of shows off that their pale ale can be delicate, still be hazy and juicy, but also have a little bit of bitterness to it and keep that ABV down for crushability.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of other half versions, like a Super Fun or something like that, where it doesn't showcase what they do or what they're known for in a way where it's super juicy and super hazy, but it's approachable for everybody.
Yeah, most definitely. No, it hits all the notes that I like of a really well done hop forward beer that I'm going to be able to drink a couple of over the course of the day. This is the definitely the style of beer that I have used as a gateway to people who tell me that they have absolutely no interest in hops. And so definitely for those of you who may be newer to the Beer Avenger world, this is a great first step for you. That said, as a person who drinks professionally sometimes, I would absolutely drink this one on a regular basis. So thank you for throwing this one my way.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
And Captain, what's going on with
Yeah,
you?
this is interesting. I had this is maybe about the third one of these that I've had because a friend of mine brought some over, and then I wound up picking some myself. This is, I think, is a big improvement over a beer they had before that was awfully good. It's called the Gunner's Daughter. It's sort of a peanut butter milk stout. And as soon as I saw this one, I was like, oh, that's a good one. I'll have it again. Then I saw that it had coffee added into it.
Ooh.
And I think the coffee just really, it sort of like lessens that peanut impact a little bit. Cause I go back and forth on how I feel about peanut and peanut butter, but I think the coffee really makes this one sing.
Nice.
And again, it's a really nice, it's a nice, well, that word again, drinkable, quaffable, not quite crushable, but but it definitely has that. It's got a nice medium to heavy body for that 5.5%. It's got a nice lactose mouthfeel. It's just it's really tasty beer.
Yeah, I actually just drank this one recently in the shop, and it's like the nose is so interesting with that peanut butter, but it's not even like peanut butter. It's like roasted peanuts. You actually smell. I feel like you almost smell the skin of a peanut that you would have at a ball game or something.
Yeah.
Like I was even joking. It was like almost like I almost smelled like a bag of Fritos in it. It was so weird, like how much of the skin of the peanut that I smelled.
Excellent. All right. Well, now that we've been introduced to some of the various beers that you can find at Sweet Avenue, I feel like it's about time we start to learn a little bit more about Jared. Don't you think so, Beer Wonder?
I do. I think it might even be time for an origin story.
Absolutely. I think it's time that we learned the origin story about Jared Leary. And I know that you've been involved in a lot of different bars just since I've been aware of things. And I know that your story definitely starts before that. Where would you really consider your beer origin story beginning, Jared?
I think like getting into beer was definitely at a very early age.
Yeah.
High school and whatnot. But like getting into craft beer, I would even say it was before I was legally able to drink. But
a few of us have admitted to that. Fortunately, it's a good thing the statute of limitations isn't so heavy on that one.
Exactly.
I don't think anyone's going to come looking for us.
Yes. So I used to start. I grew up in South Jersey in the Philadelphia area, and I used to frequent probably one of the most well-known Belgian beer bars in that city.
Oh.
And my fake ID was better than my palate, and it was where I kind of learned about Belgian beer, and it really stoked an interest. And I kind of always had like curiosity of what beer was going to taste like. What was the new thing? What could I learn from it? Beer became more of a sit-down adventure. As far as not having the same thing twice, not just crushing Heinekens and for a night just to catch a buzz. It was more about we can still catch a buzz, but I can have multiple different things in one night and like really kind of dive into what flavors were. It became more of a hobby than actually just going and sitting at a bar and doing something. I think I kind of took that with me when I got my first chance to open up my own place. That place was in downtown Manhattan, like the Bowery region, called 1 Mile House, which is on Delancey between Christie and Bowery.
I think the first time I heard about that one was I think Huck stumbled across it at some point or another, and he led us all there and had a lot of fun there.
We've spent many a happy hour at 1 Mile House. Yep.
It was a magical place, and I really, really enjoyed it, and I learned a lot. I think I was 30 when I opened that, and I had a kid in the same year. It was extreme. Apparently, I really like to complicate things when I open something, either opening in a pandemic or having a child at the same time of opening a business. But I definitely had a lot of help. I had some great people who worked for me, that have gone on to do amazing things themselves, and it was a real great culture that we created there. And I think a lot of that had to do with craft beer. Through the beer, we got to meet a lot of new people, and through beer events and just having one-off beers, having new breweries like the first beer Equilibrium came out with, or the first beer Other Half came out with, Single Cut, Transmitter, all these beers that just that we all know and take for granted today, that they all had an origin story too, and a lot of those came through 1 Mile House. After that, I had a couple of new partners, and we opened up a place called Judy and Punch.
That's on 30th Avenue in Astoria.
Yes, still there. My partners there run that. We have a pretty awesome beer program is there as well, cocktail program. And a couple years later, we partnered up again. And this past summer, we opened up Sweet Avenue, where I'm at today. I run that place kind of similar to One Mile House, minus kitchen, minus multiple staff on one day. It's basically a one-person show, and we do the retail as well.
Right.
That has been a learning curve as well. It's kind of amazing what you think you know and what you don't know as things kind of unveil themselves. Retail is a different animal than just having a bar restaurant. It's not any more challenging, but it's just you have to re-adapt the way you think about things. Like with a restaurant, you can quantify your sales by butts and seats. Like you look at your restaurant, you're like, all right, well, we're really busy. This is going to be a great night. Where I could look at Sweet Avenue and we could have, I hope that never happens, but 4 people sitting at the bar, but we could have a great night as well because of so much of the pickup services, the delivery that we do, and curbside delivery, as well. A lot of orders get passed through our website, sweetavenuenyc.com, if anyone's wondering. And it's like, it's just to see how that new wave of beer drinking through the pandemic has really opened up those doors.
I am curious. So, knowing that a lot of people are drinking at home now, and that's sort of a trend that's come, was that part of the prompt that made you shift into something that would be more of a retail and bar model, where did that inspiration come from?
I think it came from the inspiration came from experience. I think there were certain things that happened in the course of One Mile House, for instance, is labor increased. I believe in everyone should have a fair wage, but when you open up a restaurant where the wages are lower, then you're forced to go higher, and everything else goes higher on top of that. You kind of price yourself out of your model, and I think that's kind of what happened with One Mile House. And there was no going back. It wasn't designed that we could take away. So with this model, it was like, let's keep it very simple. We can keep it very intimate. We can have 1 to 2 people working at any given time for a whole day. And a lot, eliminating the kitchen, the cost of that labor, and the cost of just the goods that you have to buy as well. All kind of played in the role of this. I think opening up during the pandemic really let you, think about what the pitfalls were if you couldn't have people in your store. Like we have these open windows in front that we could just open up, and all the beer that we have in those fridges, we can kind of turn to the front of the place and sell right out the window if we wanted to.
Oh, wow.
That hasn't happened yet, but that's something that we thought of, it's like, if we do have to revert back to no one in your establishment, how are you going to survive?
Right.
And I think with these pitfalls that many restaurants have had, it's kind of a shame how many people have been left out to dry. But I do believe that strong-willed people will come up with creative ways to keep their business alive.
And I was looking at your website the other day and noticing how incredibly a lot of places, I feel they don't update things regularly enough. You kind of like have to go into the store to really see what's there. You seem to be really on top of having a very thorough selection divided by style as far as what's available and what the prices are and all of that. So you can plan it. Is that something directly through you, or is there a third party that you're working through there as well? Or
no, I designed it all myself.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, from the logo, from the way the place looks, I painted the walls myself. Everything was kind of really done, what's between these 2 ears. The website is through Square, which is my POS system. And the reason I chose them is because they have an online platform for the store, including as far as like an actual everyday service at the bar. It's a little slow, but it's meant for retail. It's not meant for high volume bar or services. But the store is great, so I literally take pictures of the beer every time I get them in the house, price them out, put them in the computer, put them in the fridge, and then put them up on the online store. So everything, for the most part, not today because I haven't done it yet, but after I'm done this podcast, I will. Everything is normally in real time. So when we get it and we have it in the fridge, that's available. Sometimes it might not even be in the fridge; it'll be in the walk-in in the back, but it's still available in the online store.
Excellent.
But yeah, I really try to keep it up to date because it's a hassle, but it's totally worth it. And it's you don't want to come down there and see something on the website that's not there. I think that's a really bad way to run a shop.
Yeah. Well, and on the flip side, it's exciting to see, oh, there's something new here. I want to
Yeah.
definitely make sure I swing by. So,
Of course.
yeah.
So you were joking before about not entirely joking, but remarking humorously on the whole notion of opening a place in the middle or well into a pandemic.
Yeah.
Had you decided to open this store before you got hit with that, or was this something? Is it entirely post March 2020 that you picked the space and started planning on opening this?
Yes, on the space. We saw the space after, I think we signed the lease in January of 2021.
Okay.
As far as the idea, I've lived in Sunnyside for the last 11 years. So the whole pretty much time that I was running One Mile House, I was living there. Excuse me. So I think every time I would come home at night after like an event, I'm like, man, Sunnyside really needs some craft beer. We should open up a bottle shop here. It was something I was always just thrown out there, but never really thought of. But I think since I left One Mile House, I was looking for a new adventure. And, I think, I want to give props to my wife, because she kind of pushed me back into that idea. And,
Yeah.
I was trying to search for things to do. And she was like, why don't you just push on that model? Let's look in the neighborhood. We can be close to home. I can be close to my son. I can be, in and out of the shop if I can. It's not like I have to travel 45 minutes to get somewhere. Like, it's very neighborhood. And I think all those things made me want to do this. So
It used to be a flower shop. Is that right?
Yeah. It was a florist for 86 years. Prior to me taking over. I know when we were building out, people were like, oh, what happened to the flower shop? I'm like, oh, I think they closed. And like, what are you going to do? I'm like, oh, I'm opening up a craft beer shop. And they were like, oh. And I'm like, I was so thrown off by the some people were excited, but like, a lot of the older people in the neighborhood that were, had no idea what I was doing or what we were about was like, oh, that's a shame. And it's like, well, I think beer is better than flowers. I don't know, but
you can always find flowers.
Yeah,
exactly.
On Valentine's Day, you can just have a couple out just in case anybody needs to grab one on their way home. Then you're serving the purpose,
absolutely.
right?
I mean, it's not like you're opening up a vape shop or something.
I know. This is like, and it's like good quality stuff. It's not, you're running of the mill. We're not trying to be, we close earlier. It's not like we have the 4 a.m. raucous hours of a bar.
Yeah, it's a vibrant mom and pop small business.
Exactly.
So
I think we head to the neighborhood.
Probably in the spirit of that's probably the flower shop opened initially as well. It's that
Exactly.
There's a lot of foliage in our place. There's a lot of flowers and plants that my wife takes care of.
Well, that's cool.
So I'm curious about curating the beer selection. I assume that that's entirely you. And knowing sort of your tastes, do you have like a method that you go about it? Are you looking for the newest thing? Do you have tried and trues that you always want there?
I do think it's a combination of all that. I think I've learned my lessons. Like with this shop, there's definitely a lot of fine tuning that has happened. With One Mile House, I had 30 draft lines, so it was like, I take this, that. I'll find a way to put that up. Like I didn't have to say no too often. With this one, it's a little more tuned in. It's 12 lines. I try to stay extremely specific to the lines that I have. So I'll always have like 2 lagers. I'll always have 4 hoppy beers or hop forward beers. 2 stouts, 2 sours, and then I'll have somewhat of like a saison line or some wheat line, and then maybe like a wild card round that we can put quads on, or we can put some really delicate beers when when the weather warms up. But it's like kind of true to that. And then the other thing is like you want what's new, you want what's hot, you want to move the needle for your customers and get them excited. You definitely, I hear this a lot of like, oh, it's nice. I don't know why they have so many IPAs. Like, I wish they were more balanced or more options. It's like, well, unfortunately, 80% of the population is buying IPAs when they walk in the store. And I turn those over a heck of a lot more than anything else. It's actually not my personal cup of tea. I'd rather have a ton more saisons and more interesting beers, but they're going to sit on my shelves, unfortunately, and I can't.
80%, really? I think it was that. How much percentage?
I think I'm exaggerating.
Where does sours fit into all that?
They're just they're pretty high too.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, especially the big fruited, like stupid ones. I always call like they're just so much fruit in them, and it's not like what I remember a sour to be. But they're tasty. I mean, what they can do with a beer these days is amazing. Like there's beers that taste like Hawaiian Punch. We just had one recently that mimicked like the fruit punch Gatorade, the red Gatorade. It was identical to smell. It was a little more tart, but I've had ones that taste like Hawaiian Punch. I've had ones that taste like vanilla cake, and you're just like, I don't know how they do it these days. Evil Twin had one that was grape soda. It like literally tasted like grape soda. I let my 11-year-old taste it. I was like, "What do you think of this?" She's like, "Oh, this is good." I'm like, "No, it's not. It's not." Alcohol shouldn't appeal to an 11-year-old. But yeah.
Well, yeah. I think that horse has left the barn. As far as I think there's so many things where like weed edibles are getting in trouble for that. I don't think anyone's paying attention to beer, because beer is. A lot of beers are really embraces the silly. Evil Twin being on the forefront of that. But no, it's funny. I think, in fact, there was one. I think when Huck had with that Evil Twin, he was. I remember him literally saying, like, I figure like you give as a kid and say, "Here, drink your juice," because it just has that flavor to it.
Oh yeah.
Now,
well,
since you opened, Jared, I know you've had a lot of really great theme nights. Like recently, you had one with Fifth Hammer. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be there for that one. And we had one with Finback. Actually, I think isn't that when I took you there for the first time, Beer Wonder?
Yes, that was my first time there, and it was great. It was quite. I mean, we were there before things got a little crazy. We were there at like I think 2 or 3 in the afternoon. It was good early drinking day.
I think it was there when you were picking up your kid from school.
Yeah.
yes, exactly. But I was wowed by the list. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have in a business where you have a lot of these relationships that you built up over the years, and thankfully, especially with Finback and Finhammer, Single Cut we did one, and Collective Arts, and Three Floyds, can't remember, Wild East. So having all those connections for all the years, like they were really awesome in taking care of me and giving me some really unique beers from their brewery that would like again push the needle where people see it and they're like, oh yeah. Who is this little shop coming up with all these beers? And that's kind of what I want. That's the reaction I would hope to get from these lists. But yeah, we do a lot of those. We normally do one of those a month. In the same vein, we have a run club that we started out of the bar every Thursday at 7:00. It's a lot of fun. It makes it good for a couple of guilt-free beers. We have a short run, a long run, and again goes into creating that culture and that community of like what we're trying to start here. And people can come in on off nights that aren't run nights and still run into run club people and be like, oh, or walk by, like, I know there's going to be someone there. If I'm coming by myself, I'm going to know somebody. And that's unfortunately the first year is what you really have to push and try to create.
Very cool. What's the next event coming up?
The next event is Craft Beer Week, is at the end of February. So I think we're going to do a couple events. I'm still in the works with some, so I don't want to let the cat out of the bag too soon. Instagram is totally where you can find out all that information. But we do have a couple cool things that are starting up that, if you don't mind me plugging, I will.
Not at all.
Plug away.
We have a beer school that we just started last month. We did like a beer 101. And we sell tickets on our website for that. We have a new one coming up for Valentine's Day. We're doing a beer and cheese pairing. So we
are no stranger to that.
Yeah.
We are no strangers to that.
Yes.
That is so true. Absolutely, with your sponsor.
Well, not only with our sponsor, that's what we the same thing you were telling us before I started recording, as far as facilitating tastings. Beer Wonder and I do a lot of that. Beer and cheese tastings for another company called Unboxed Experiences.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. I mean, that's amazing, because I think that that kind of dynamic of pairing a food with a beer and just how versatile everything can be is a wonderful experience for people. So that's what we're doing next. We do that. Valentine's Day is our next one, 4 beers, 4 cheeses. And then we're also starting a Name That Tune music trivia night on Tuesdays. So it's more about the audio than it is about just a guy asking you questions all night. So
very good.
Yeah, we have music themes, so we'll play a clip of the music. You have to guess who the artist is, what the song is. There will be a theme, and so you're generally not just the whole ethos of music. So it's more of just having, kind of regulate it, and we're starting that on February 1st.
So you're going to head with your neighbors. Well, I think Alewife is doing their trivia on Tuesday nights as well.
Oh, I mean, it's unfortunate. It's, you do it on those nights because of the slower nights, and
Of course.
we're not doing the same exact thing, thank God, because I don't, I like to be more neighborly than competitive, and I love those guys. Shout out to all the Pats and here.
I mean, yeah, honestly, I think that's one of the things that I love about the craft beer scene is it's all, they sort of like view each other as a community more than anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. I drink there a lot. They drink at my place a lot, and we pour their beer, and we've known each other for many, many years, and I've gotten along for.
Well, in fact, more than once, I've started there and wound up at your place.
Yeah, and that's great. I always said that when I was doing this new concept too, I reached out to Ted from Top Hops. I don't know if you guys remember Top Hops.
Oh yeah, I was sorry to see that they had to close their place on Orchard Street.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still in touch with him. He's doing much bigger and better things from that spot, and I leaned on him a decent amount in the beginning of this because we had such a good relationship from 1 Mile House to Top Hops, and people would make that trip for both places. And when I was deciding to do this, I had many meetings with Ted, and he was a really good guiding force for me for that.
And speaking of the whole community competition, whatever, between beer bars and breweries, there was a recent, few months back, a New York Times article that you were interviewed for. We're sort of weighing in because, I mean, as I don't want to put words in your mouth, but but you were saying something about how you felt like the article was sort of like pushing a gloom and doom perspective.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was I don't want to say gloom and doom. I think I would regret thinking that. I think it's more of a reality check.
Yeah.
It wasn't it wasn't a really happy-go-lucky beer article. Here's Sheriff from Sweet Avenue doing his thing, and here's all falling, and then we're not falling rock. That is some of the doom and gloom. But I think what I'm trying to say is it's a reality check for all small businesses during this pandemic of what you're faced with, and the hardships that that you go through that people don't see. Everyone goes to a bar one day in their life, and everybody thinks that they can open a bar every one day in their life.
Right.
And it's it's easy. I would do this. I would do this. I would do that. But the thing is that it's a business, and it's a lot more than just standing at the bar and having a beer with your customers. And those are the challenges that you face. And I think I think that's why the failure rate is so high in our industry, is that people think they can do it. And you don't need an education. You just need money and the willingness to fill out paperwork. And then you can have a bar. So it's one of those things, where you kind of have to look at the reality of what situation you're in. And I think it was a very honest and very true article.
Yeah, I mean, my takeaway from the article was it was sort of pushing the idea that our breweries being too much of a threat for beer bars these days. And I would not want to live in a world where we could only have one of those options. I think it's great because, for instance, like you were just saying, Ale Life is your neighbor. You support them, you carry their beer. I can walk to Single Cut from my apartment, but if I go to the Beer and Cheese Collective, they have single cut beers there. They're not it's not like a tooth and nail kind of a thing. And on top of that, there are things that a really good beer bar can provide that you can't get. For instance, I'm not going to go to Maine to get this beer.
Right.
This one I have here, Beer Wonder. It's going to be a little inconvenient for you to Middletown every time you want a beer from Equilibrium.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a bit of a trek. So
it's possible that maybe it seems like maybe some beer bars can't have quite as much of a focus on local as they might have before, or as hyper local, I should say. They want to still, but so that might, and also I think what the article is where it seemed positive, it was just saying that maybe bottle shops like yourself, while having more and more bars, having that more of a focus on bottles will help them evolve and continue.
I agree. And, I think, with our dynamic with Alewife, it's a great dynamic because we push people to them and they push people to us. We have their product on display. One of our taps right now is Alewife 1000 Stars, and it's a delicious Pilsner. And, when people see that, we have so much dynamic or conversation with our customers. It's there's plenty of times where people come in and they're like, oh, I was just there and it was great, and then I hear the same from them is where people are like, oh, I was just over at Sweet Avenue and then, the brewery's here. So we decided, to make that trip. And it's like, you're almost creating an environment where people can have multiple craft beer experiences in one 5-minute walk, and I think that's important. And I think, with us, like you want to support your backyard. Like hyper local is where it's at. You know what I mean? Like granted, we can go get it whenever we want it at the breweries. It's a short trip, but it's also, it's its own like ecosystem that we kind of just all help each other out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love it. I think it's one of the better communities that I've ever been a part of. But with that said, if you are a bar restaurant too, like, you can't just be defined by your beer. You have to have everything. You have to have personality behind the bar. You have to have a standard that doesn't let your customers down. You have to have, you have to do what you say you're going to do. I think you have to, if you're going to provide a product and you're going to provide an atmosphere, you have to do it 100% all the time. And that's hard, but, I think you can use a lot of excuses on why things aren't right or going your way. And although many of those can be valid, you still have to, your standards don't need to wane because of it.
But, one of the things I find really interesting about your model, which is a little different from some other bottle shops I've seen, is a lot of them will have just like a corkage fee, where it'll be like a flat rate of like an extra dollar if you want to drink it in the store. You have this great thing where everything is priced to drink there, but if you want to take it somewhere else, it's 40% off. Like for instance, this beer I'm drinking now is $9 if you want to drink at the store. It's $5.60 if you want to drink it at home, which I think is it's a fascinating model. It took me a second the first time I walked in, because I was looking, because I'm so used to seeing everything priced for takeaway, and I'm looking, it's like, this all seems a little bit high, and then I realized, like, oh no, it's much lower than I thought.
Yeah, and I have these big signs that say 40% off to go.
Yeah.
And no one ever sees them. I don't know why I got them, but it's
okay.
easy to
People
point
don't
to
read.
after the fact. Yeah, they don't. I don't read, so I get it. I never liked I don't want to say that I came up with this on my own. It was definitely through talks, again, Ted and stuff like that, of just kind of going about, like, I hated the fact that you got punished for having a beer inside of a bar. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm doing the same thing. I'm just making it more palatable to discuss. Like,
sort of retrofitting it a little.
Exactly. Like, you get a reward if you take it home, instead of like, you're getting punished for staying here. And then you have to look at that person for the duration of that drink after you've just punished them. You know what I mean? It doesn't set a good tone for me.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Carrots and sticks.
Exactly.
Big fan of carrots.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Well, in keeping with the whole theme of the whole community thing, I know the last time we were on here, I was talking about how I was going to the big Gun Hill Barrel Aged Festival. It was fantastic. Yeah, I mean, it was nice because I hadn't been to any sort of a festival like that. It was all inside, but it was busy, but not uncomfortably crowded. Everyone had to be, show their vaccination proof to go there. And there was so much great stuff there. I don't even know where to begin. One was nice, like Lock 27 had a special cookies and cream Black is Beautiful beer, which I haven't been seeing as much of lately, and that was really great. And then I like our friends from Finback, and who else? Let's see here. KCBC, King's Court, actually, I remember I had a really nice Russian Imperial Stout from there, but really it was fantastic all around. And I wound up coming home. I kind of remember picking out the beers I took home with me, but they had a really nice deal with this great barrel aged. Jared, have you had their Puerto Rican Noggin?
I don't think I have, unfortunately.
It's a coquito flavored barrel aged stout. Similar to the other one, is 6 Point had what version that was kind of like that, called Coquito Cowboy.
Didn't Finback have one called Coquito? I think they had one too.
They did. I
don't think I ever had that one. That was great. Oh, that sounds good. But they also had they had a barrel aged version of the Void of Light that was there. They had that. What's that barley wine they have? It's got another one of those like old school kind of names. It escapes me now, but it was. I've mentioned it on the show before, because Beer and Cheese Collective had it on draft for a little while. But so good. I have Beer Wonder, when we finally have that stout party at my house.
Yes,
I know we keep having to postpone it, but it will be worth the wait once we get there. I'm saving a couple of those for when we're able to do that. But also when I was in there, I got to hang out with the happy hour guys a little bit. The first time I'd been around with them in person. And so for those of you who have been aching to get back to the theater, just know that the Curtain Up not only is the Curtain Up project not done, but they're calling the next phase of what they're doing Act 2.
Ah, nice.
So
Seems
definitely
appropriate.
keep looking for your Curtain Up Act 2, because the performing arts industry is we talked a little bit about, I can't remember the last time we really checked in on that whole issue, because people were sort of cautiously saying, yeah, Broadway's back, but now with it's not even just the advance of the Omicron. It's they've been constantly plagued with temporary closings here and there, whereas a few Broadway shows are closing, well, literally closing, but saying they're hoping to come back in a few months, just because having to close for a few days every week just isn't working for them.
It's not financially sustainable. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I have a few people, actually a lot of people in the Sunnyside neighborhood that work in that field.
Right.
And it's amazing. You hear like these big Broadway shows where like whole sections of like, the top, tier is just gone. They just fill the front rows, and then the bottom row is kind of like, your orchestra seating and stuff like that. And it's unbelievable. Like, actors have to perform in front of 200 people in a 1,000-seat, theater. It just seems really, very, very hard and difficult for those guys.
Yeah, that's not sustainable in of itself, let alone if like next week we have to shut down for a week because someone tested positive.
Yeah.
The only thing like that I've gone to see, I can't remember. Did I mention my trip to the Irish Arts Center on the last episode or so? I can't remember for sure.
I know you mentioned it to me. I don't know if you've mentioned it.
The new Irish Arts Center in way up on the west 50s, I think it is, not far away from the bar as is. They have their new location there, but I wound up going to see a show there, and I was planning on going to see it again, but they had to like totally shut down the second half of their run just because it wasn't worth it to continue.
Yeah. It's rough out there. Well, the good news is, you can drink away your sorrows. And I know that we've all been you and I have been doing a good job of that. We did have a trip to Alewife, and I know you headed over to Sweet Avenue afterwards. And we also,
in fact the night we met at Alewife was literally the night I picked up the beer you're having right now.
There you go. See, keeping the cold chain real.
Yeah.
And then we also did a little trip to go see our friends and my dear bartender friend Jen over at the Pony Bar.
The Pony Bar, yeah.
Exactly. So
they still have their dedicated outdoor space if that's what you need, which we did. So we sat there at the barrel in front of the place, with bundled up, scarves and all, having a nice beer. It's very warming. That's a great thing. A cold beer can still be a very warming experience.
Exactly. Just does the job that needs to be done on the inside. So.
And it was interesting that night I also, once I left, I decided to swing by the Beer and Cheese Collective. By the way, I think I'll probably have this on the opening at the beginning, but they are on a winter schedule again, where Mondays and Tuesdays they're closed. So it only open Wednesday through Sunday for the time being. But one of the things they just launched last week is the Astoria Chess Club. I don't know if the Astoria Chess Club existed already, but last Wednesday they had their first official meeting there, which apparently planning on doing every Wednesday night. I just stopped in after Pony because I wanted to grab a couple of beers to bring home, and the place was just filled with chessboards, and people playing them as well. It wasn't,
of course, naturally.
It wasn't just and hopefully, it was just like I don't think they knew how big this thing would be. So if anyone is looking for any recreational or otherwise playing of chess, they welcome all skill levels and drinking a beer. And having some cheese every Wednesday night, 6:00 at the Beer and Cheese Collective.
Very cool.
Well, so many things in the last couple of weeks in beer, but in the future, if you're looking for fun things to do and you want to head over to Sweet Avenue, where can we find out all kinds of information about what's happening in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, I mean, like Instagram. I think that's the way to go for information for us right now. We're pretty active on it. We allow everyone to kind of see the inside of the place and the workings of it while sitting on their phone, and maybe I don't know, anywhere anyone's on their phone, which is everywhere, I guess.
And what is the best handle for that one?
It is Sweet Avenue NYC.
Love it.
Excellent. Yeah, that's where I'm always checking. I love how you're always putting up the pictures of like the full beer menu that's there. When you had the thing last week for Fifth Hammer, I was disappointed I wasn't there because I was looking at all the various things. I was like, I really hope I get a chance to try that one. And when I was there last night, I was really glad that the one that I was most curious about was there. that gin barrel aged porter.
Yeah, the Tanamos, I think
Yeah.
that's how you call it. It's a 23 months in a gin barrel. So I think they made that making moves, or I think that's what their imperial porter is with lactose. I think they made the original version of that and they split it up into different barrels. So it's the same base beer made from the same time. I think they've had like Jamaican moves, they've had bourbon barrel aged making moves, and this one was one that they put in the gin barrels in. You know, I think it was a very rare commodity. I was very happy Kuzume let me have that one.
Yeah, I mean, as far as barrel aging goes, gin is one of the trickier ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've never had anything dark like that in a gin barrel. Normally it's like either a saison or a pale ale, or mostly like saisons. It's like, I love it. I think people do get taken back by it. They're kind of like, what is going on? Just because they haven't tasted anything like that before. And, you know, for me, if I haven't tasted it before, it just intrigues me so much that I like it. And it's a really delicious beer, I think, you know.
Excellent. Yeah,
I have to race in to go and try it then.
I think the first one I had that was about a year ago. Big Alice had their Anarchist Jurisdiction, which was a gin aged stout, I believe.
Okay.
But yeah, it's always well. The funny thing about the Botanamousse is I don't notice the gin as much until the finish.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to taste the gin, and then all of a sudden you swallow it and it's there.
Yeah, I think the nose is a lot of like juniper and stuff like and gin qualities, but when you drink it, you get all that sweetness and the lactose and like, you know, from the imperial porter, and then it finishes dry like a gin, and it's pretty amazing, really amazing beer. Like how many different rides you can go on in one sip.
Excellent. Now, and in addition to Instagram, your website is also sweetavenuenyc.com.
Yes, everything that, you know, any kind of handle is always Sweet Avenue NYC. The website is our store, so you can, I know you guys are in Astoria and whatnot, like you can get beer delivered in Astoria from Sweet Avenue. We have a good,
excellent,
5-mile radius. So LIC, Jackson Heights, Woodside, Sunnyside, I think parts of Brooklyn as well. I haven't seen how far it can go, but it's gone pretty far, which is pretty amazing to me.
Excellent. And I know
I was going to say, I'm happy to test that for you because I do live pretty far away from you in Brooklyn.
But I did notice on the website, not only like everything you offer is available for purchase, not only delivery, but also it's all very, you don't have to go hunting for anything. The Beer 101 classes you're talking about are listed on there, as well as like other events. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So good luck with that, the Runners Club. And I'm excited to see what you have planned for NYC Craft Beer Week.
Yeah.
Or is it NYC Craft Beer Week, or is it New York State Craft Beer Week?
I want to say it's NYC Craft Beer Week.
Okay.
I think it's NYC, yeah.
Yeah. The question confused me. I was like, wait, am I thinking of the wrong thing? But no, it's NYC Craft Beer Week.
Okay.
The opening bash at the very end of February, and it runs into the first week of March.
Excellent.
It's a good time to drink a beer for sure.
It really is. You really feel part of a community during that week. That's for sure. You go to a lot of other people's events as well as your own, and it's taxing on your liver, but it's worth it in the end.
That's what we train for.
I think that's what you need to have on the T-shirt when you finally get those made up.
I know. We're professionals. Yeah, for sure.
All right. Anything else we need to talk about before we wrap things up?
No, support your local breweries, support your local beer stores, support your local bars. Now is the time. I feel like January is always a rough month, and into February is always a rough month for the beer industry. So now is a great time to go out and grab an extra drink at your favorite watering hole, for sure.
Yep. Dry January is almost over. Support the Beer Ventures.
Thank goodness.
I'm really happy I did this, and I had a great time.
Thanks. We're really glad you were on here. Yes, and I guess to piggyback on what you were just saying, if anyone wants to reach out to us, we're at the Beer Vengers on all the socials. You can email us at thebeervengers@gmail.com. Send us your comments, your thoughts. Please no death threats. Please. Yeah. Because if you do, we'll read them on the air and laugh at you. And that'll just make you angrier. So don't do that. Haikus, composite sketches, whatever you want. We accept. Well, I mean, honestly, at this point, I'd be curious to see what the death threats would look like, but we don't want those. Jared, actually, here's something. I know we said we're not necessarily always doing this with bar owners, since they're more like our Commissioner Gordons than the beer vengers with secret identities, because the last thing Jared wants is a secret identity. He wants people to know who he is and where they can find him. But if you were to have a beer venger name, Jared, any thoughts on what you'd like that to be?
Oh, I don't know. I think it would have to do something with like the ability to well curate a list, or something where you can organize many different styles. I think you would have to have some sort of, I mean, you're the leader of a bottle shop, so you kind of have to have a little bit of authoritarian feel to you. I don't know. That's a really tough question. I don't know. I think I would just have to be like Captain Sweet Avenue or something. I think I just gotta stay on brand. You know.
I think,
or even just something as simple as the curator.
The curator, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I have the lightning bolt in the logo already. That would be perfect on my chest. So
I know you're ready to go.
Fits in very well with what we do. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Jared, the curator. Did we even ever mention the exact address of Sweet Avenue? It's we'll say it.
It's 4005 Queens Boulevard. Right off the 7 train.
Yeah. Yes, very easy by public transit in the city of Gotham.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Jared, and come back anytime.
Yeah, please invite me. I'm always available for you guys.
Beautiful.
It's been great. And thanks all of you out there for listening. Thank you, Beer Wonder. And
always a pleasure,
we'll see you next time. Oh, look, I think Huck's wandered in, and he's going to play us out. Thanks for listening, everyone. Bye.
With the beer vengers, beer vengers, beer vengers.
We're the beer vengers.